welcome back to Scripture Twisting 101. Today's verse from the Quran going to be very interesting and probably very troubling to some of you. So we want to apologize in advance. As always, of course, joining me here in studio would be David Wood and Sam Shamoun. But first, let's go ahead and read the verse. It comes from chapter 4, verse 34. Many of you probably have heard of it. It says, "Men are in charge of women, because Allah has made the one of them to excel the other, and because they spend of their property for the support of women." That's the additional interpretation as to why. So good women are obedient, guarding in secret that which Allah has guarded. As for those, meaning as for those women, from whom you fear rebellion, admonish them and banish them to beds apart and scourge them. The word actually should be beat them. Then if they obey you, seek not a way against them. Lo, Allah is ever high, exalted, great. Guys, this whole verse is troubling.
Yep.
Everything in it.
It's pretty bad.
So much the equality between men and women in Islam,
Yeah.
and the elevation of the status of women.
Yeah, so some of the most, lots of disturbing things about this, but a couple of the most disturbing things. One is that it's if you fear rebellion, right? Notice this doesn't say if your wife goes out and does something objectively verifiable, then you could beat her, right? That would be bad enough. But when it's simply, hey, she doesn't have to actually do anything. She could be the greatest wife in the world. You just happen to be paranoid and you're fearing something from her. You can go ahead and beat her. As far as the reason this is included in a series on scripture twisting is lots of translations. So for instance, the Yusuf Ali translation will put in parentheses the word lightly,
Meaning beat her lightly.
Yeah, beat
what
her
a merciful
lightly.
guy.
Yeah, in parentheses. And notice even there, because you do have in the Muslim sources sayings like, "Don't beat your wife as you beat your slave," and then call her to bed and things like that. You have things like that, and so the emphasis. So Muslims will say, "Oh, so it's a kind of light beating." Well, to be clear, the heavy beating was the beating that would do some sort of like permanent physical damage and like really, really mess you up. So the light beating does not mean the beating that is not painful or something like that. It's just not, you're not breaking bones, right? You're not drawing blood and things like that. So even if you go with lightly, understand what a light beating would be in an Islamic context. So that's one issue, even if they go with it lightly. So that's one way that this gets distorted. But the other way it gets distorted is when Muslims comment on this. They'll say that it's a beating that wouldn't involve pain. It's a beating, it just refers to tapping her lightly with a toothbrush. A muswak, right? You just tap her with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a little stick, little branch.
Yeah, and it's just to show your displeasure. Yeah. And I've also seen it's sort of shaking grass on her, kind of grass. You grab some thick grass and shake it at her to show your displeasure.
What's the point, David? Why?
So think about this, right? So according to this logic here, here's what the verse would actually be saying. Because notice, it's supposed to be escalating, right?
That's right.
So, good women are obedient, guarding in secret that which Allah has guarded. As for those from whom you fear rebellion, first step, admonish them. So you're warning them, hey, I'm telling you, you better, I feel like you're going to rebel against me. I don't have any evidence, but I really feel like you're going to rebel against me. So I'm warning you, don't try that with me. So that's step number one. Then they're still not listening, right? They're still making you fear them somehow. Step two, banish them to beds apart. So there's actually a harsher interpretation of this. I'll read this in a moment. But suppose we just go with the standard, we're separating, right? We're separating. You're staying in that bed in that room. I'm staying in this bed over here. To really show you how upset I am. Now we're separating. I don't want to be in the same room with you. You stay in a separate bed. And if that doesn't work, then you tap them with a toothbrush. Seriously? That's the most severe step? Separating from you, forcing you to sleep in a separate bed, that didn't work. Now I'm going to shake some grass on you to really get my point across. That's absurd, right? We know what this is saying. It's escalating. First I warn you, then I banish you to a separate bed, and then I beat you until you obey me. Let me go ahead and read a commentary on this. Because that banished them to beds apart, it sounds like the early Muslims understood that in a much harsher way. But the tafseer of Al-Tabari on 434 actually gives a historical background. We also hear Muslims saying, hey, you shouldn't hit her in the face and things like that. According to Tabari, that was actually the historical background. So it was said that this verse, 434, was revealed because a man hit his wife on her face, so she came to the Prophet. Lots of women were coming to Muhammad.
He didn't brush grass on her face?
No, and apparently it wasn't a toothbrush. Yeah. But we've actually got some much worse stuff about women thinking that they could go to Muhammad to judge in their favor. So a man hit his wife in the face. So she came to the Prophet, the greatest feminist of all time, may I add. Mm-hmm. The Prophet then wanted to judge in her favor. So Muhammad wants to judge in her favor, in which case it's going to be, some sort of eye for eye, tooth for tooth. You go slap him, or you get, one of your male relatives to go slap the taste out of this guy's mouth for hitting you in your face, right? The Prophet wanted to judge in her favor, but Allah revealed Surah 4, verse 34, right? So Muhammad's like, I want to judge in your favor. Oh, what? I'm getting a revelation from Allah. Oh, no, Allah says he can beat her.
It says that Allah rebuked him and said, hey, hold on. Wait for the Quran.
Yeah. So then the Prophet called on the man and recited this verse to him and said, I wanted one thing, but Allah wanted another. Right? So I wanted to judge against you, dude, for hitting your wife right in her face. But Allah said, nope, I can't judge against this man. He has every right to. I mean, he was afraid that his wife was going to rebel against him or something. Also, this continues, also Ibn Abbas said, abandon her in bed, but if she refused to return, then beat her, and he has not severely, and do not break her bone. So now you have the idea of what a light beating is. You're not breaking bones and so on, doing permanent damage. Ibn Abbas said, the beating has to be with a light stick or the like. And as for the banishing them to their beds, he said it means admonish them, but if they refuse to repent, then tie them up in their homes and beat them until they obey Allah's command towards you. So the banishing them to separate beds means you're actually banishing them to their bed. That's right. And tying them up there.
That's
and
the word
beating them.
The verb itself can indicate that.
Yeah, and so you're tying them up in bed and beating them until they obey you. And you have the same thing in Al-Qurtubi. Ibn Abbas said, to leave them alone is to tie them up in their homes just as you would tie your ride, right? So just as you would tie a horse up.
They use an example of a camel, basically.
Yeah, so this is some really, really rough stuff when we get to it. It certainly doesn't sound like tapping someone with a toothbrush. It sounds much more brutal than that. And notice, if this is an escalation, right? Admonish them, then banish them to a separate bed, and then you beat them. If the second step is actually tying them to their beds, it'd be pretty ridiculous if, after tying them up in their beds, not letting them move, then you go and shake some grass on them, right? It would be absurd. You obviously are doing something far more. And we happen to know from Muslim sources that they would do far more.
Do you know where that shaking grass comes from? You guys aware? It's from the story of Job, chapter 38, verses 41 to 44 of the Quran, where Job made an oath that he hit his wife, but then after he was healed, he repented of it, but then Allah says to him, and take in your hand a bundle of this thin grass, and strike therewith your wife, and break not your oath. Surely we found him patient. So Allah says, no, don't break your oath, go ahead and do it, but take a bundle of grass and hit her with it. So it's interesting, they took what Job did.
That is some creative interpretation there.
Right, and then applied it to the situation. But as far as whether the beating is harsh enough that it leaves a mark or causes extreme pain, we don't need to go to any other source but the most authentic collections of narrations attributed to Muhammad. Sahih Bukhari, Sahih Muslim. I'm going to read Sahih Bukhari, volume 7, number 715. Sahih Bukhari, volume 7, number 715. Narrated Ikrimah. Rifa' divorced his wife, whereupon Abdurrahman bin Zubayr al-Qurayzi married her. Say that 5 times fast. Aisha said that the lady came wearing a green veil and complained to her of her husband and showed her a green spot on her skin caused by beating. So her husband beat her and left a green spot on her skin. It was the habit of ladies to support each other. So when Allah's apostle came, Aisha said, pay attention. I have not seen any woman suffering as much as the believing woman. Even the wives of the unbelievers don't have it as bad as we believing women. We get treated worse. So much for Muhammad being the greatest feminist who ever existed.
But But now he has the opportunity to show what a mercy to mankind
That's right.
is. Go ahead.
Look, her skin is greener than her clothes. She was wearing a green veil. The mark was even greener than her green veil.
Is
That's
that
how
why
severe
you
it was.
were green?
You got it. And because I'm taking a stand for these women, I'm standing in solidarity with them. You with me there? But let's continue. When Abdurrahman heard that his wife had gone to the Prophet, he came with his 2 sons from another wife. She said, by Allah, I have done no wrong to him, but he is impotent and is as useless to me as this. Holding and showing the fringe of her garment, meaning he can't have sexual intercourse with her. Abdurrahman said, by Allah, O Allah's apostle, she has told a lie. I am very strong, he's boasting. I'm strong and vigorous and can satisfy her, but she is disobedient and wants to go back to Rifah, her first husband. Allah's apostle said to her, if that is your intention, then know that it is unlawful for you to remarry Rifah unless Abdurrahman has had sexual intercourse with you. Then the Prophet saw 2 boys with Abdurrahman and asked them, are these your sons? On that, Abdurrahman said, yes. The Prophet said, you claim what you claim. He's impotent. But by Allah, these boys resemble him as a crow resembles a crow. So he rebukes her. Wait, you're saying this man cannot perform. He's got 2 sons. How dare you bring this accusation against him? Go back and have sex with him. And then if he divorces you, you can go back to your husband. In other words, he was more concerned with the accusation of this man being impotent. I guess Muhammad didn't realize just because he had sons previously doesn't mean he can perform years later. But again, this is Muhammadan logic. But he didn't help him, right?
Also notice what the situation that Muhammad put this woman in, right?
Yes.
So her husband. So basically, the situation is she leaves one guy, she goes and she marries another guy. She gets married to another guy. But according to the story, according to her husband's accusation, she wants to go back to the other man. So she's trying to upset this guy so that he doesn't want to be married to her anymore, cause problems and so on, so that she can go back to the other guy. And the way she's doing it is she's accusing her current husband of being impotent, right?
Yep.
She's going around saying, he's impotent, he's impotent.
She wants to shame him.
Yeah, she's shaming him, calling him impotent. He can't have sex with me, right? So this guy, he can't take it. He beats her until her skin turns green. Horrible, horrible, horrible thing to do. This
Loser.
This woman thinks, hey, I'll go to Muhammad, and what's he going to do? Maybe he'll divorce me or something like that. Maybe he'll divorce us or something like this.
Have a ground for divorce now.
Yeah, I'll be able to go back. Yeah. Maybe something's going to happen, but he's surely going to make my husband stop beating me. Aisha says, she points out in one of the most amazing claims ever that she has not seen any women suffering as much as the believing women. The Muslim women, according to Aisha, the mother of the faithful,
what a shame. Really.
Muslim women were suffering more than the pagan women. But why? Because Muslim women had husbands who had divine revelation affirming that they could beat their wives into submission.
If anyone knows abuse, it's Aisha.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Aisha, that leads us to the second.
One second. I wanted to point out the position that Muhammad left this woman in, right? Yeah. Think about this. So Aisha brings this woman to Muhammad. Muhammad hears the story, and think about the takeaway message here, right? His accusation was against her. He says, you cannot go back to your former husband.
Until you
can't
sleep
go back to
with
him until you have sex with him. That's the rule.
That's the mercy of God, you know?
That's the Islamic law, right? Yeah. But you're saying that he's impotent, so guess what? You're with him forever, girl. You're with him. You can never go. If he can't have sex with you, then you are never free of him.
That's right.
And this guy's going to beat you green until the day you die. Thank you. Come again.
Yeah. Now this is a lengthy hadith, so I won't read all of it.
No,
it's
just read the section about
Sahih Muslim, number 2127.
I'll give the background. Sahih Muslim. Muhammad's sneaking out of the house in the middle of the night. Aisha follows him to see where he goes.
And
he claims later
that
it was
back
Angel. Yeah.
So that he doesn't catch her, but then she's out of breath. So
and
he
gets
knows
upset.
there's something wrong. Yeah. And he had seen a shadow that startled him. So the thing is, Aisha sneaking up because she doesn't trust her husband. That tells you how much trust the wives had in Muhammad.
No, she wanted
that
CIRA.
She's sneaking up on him at night because she's wondering, where is he going?
Come on, man.
It's his day with me. Is he going to visit another wife?
No, he wants to visit Gabriel.
Or slave girl.
He wants to hear.
Or a
He's
slave
the
girl.
messenger of mercy.
Did this man
That's
or
what
did he
happened with
not?
Hafsa.
Did this man or did this man not get caught having sex with a slave girl and the wife
he
of one
did
of
it to Hafsa. It was Hafsa's day for Muhammad to visit and have sex with. She went visit her father Omar, and then Muhammad brought his concubine Maria and had sex with her in Hafsa's home, and Hafsa caught him and went berserk. So obviously these women knew better than to trust Muhammad.
Can't trust him.
Why is Muhammad going out at night? What is he up to? Is he going to go and have sex with one of the other wives or concubine? I better sneak up and see.
Maybe the
But
Wi-Fi
then-
connection wasn't good.
But then when he started going back, she ran because she didn't want him to know
That's
that she was
right.
spying on him. But you know, when you run, what happens? You're out of breath.
That's right.
So she's trying to pretend she's asleep, but he can see she's out of breath. And he says, why are you out of breath? And then he says this. Here's the point, because it's too long for me to read. He said, was it the darkness of your shadow that I saw in front of me? Because I noticed there was a shadow. Someone was watching me. I said, yes. Now watch this. This is the prophet of mercy, the most merciful, the most perfect human being Allah ever created. He struck me on the chest, which caused me pain. And then said, did you think that Allah and His Apostle would deal unjustly with you? Now that's Sahih Muslim, number 2127. This is also reported in Sunan an-Nasa'i, volume 3, hadith 2039. Sunan Nasa'i, volume 3, hadith 2039. He said, so you were the black shape that I saw in front of me? I said, yes. He struck me on the chest, which caused me pain.
Yeah.
So if anyone says that it's a light beating, Muhammad hit her so hard that it caused her pain. She felt pain
And he's
from
the model,
attack.
right?
Yes.
In Muhammad, you have a model.
Prophet of mercy.
There you go.
So if Muhammad doesn't know how to implement Surah 434, then no one knows how to implement it.
That's
Because
right.
here he struck her hard enough that caused her pain. And when this man beat his wife and left a green mark, greener than her green veil, Muhammad said nothing to rebuke him.
But
So
maybe
if he doesn't know the Quran, no one does.
Maybe he has desert landscape. He doesn't have grass
you're
or anything
right.
like that.
So much for Muhammad and
Yeah.
the Quran.
Anyway, everybody,
Mercy to all mankind.
Yes.
I think
what's wrong with you?
chapter 4, verse 34 speak for itself. All we did is just we gave you backgrounds and additional information to know that the Islamic commentators are just as absurd as the verse itself. Until we meet again, have a blessed day. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Also, hit the bell so that you don't miss future videos. And please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/CIRA International. And together we can introduce Muslims to the gospel of Jesus Christ. Thank you.